picture this scenario. You're driving down the expressway at, let's say, 90 kilometers per hour.
Right. Pretty standard speed.
Yeah, totally normal. But then suddenly, your front right tire violently explodes. I mean, the wheel jerks in your hands, the car dips, and the sound is just deafening.
Oh, that is absolutely terrifying.
It really is. And every single instinct wired into your human DNA screams at you to immediately slam your foot onto the brake pedal.
Which is pretty much the worst thing you could possibly do.
Exactly. Because if you do that, the physics of the vehicle practically guarantees that you will violently spin out of control across multiple lanes of traffic. Surviving that moment requires a driver to actively fight their own survival instincts.
Well, humans are just naturally reactive creatures, you know. When we're startled or threatened, our primal reflex is to stop our forward momentum by literally any means necessary.
Just freeze and stop.
Right, exactly. But a vehicle traveling at high speeds operates under strict laws of kinetic energy. Unthinking reflexes are often the very things that turn a mechanical failure into a fatal disaster.
And that actually brings us to the core mission of today's deep dive. We have this incredibly comprehensive document on the desk today. It's the Professional Driving Reviewer from TESDA.
Yes, the updated standard.
Right. And for you listening, TESDA is the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority over in the Philippines. We are specifically looking at their updated NC2 standard.
Which stands for National Certificate Level 2?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Which is the benchmark for professional drivers.
Yeah.
And you know, we aren't just looking at this to help someone pass a basic driving test.
No, not at all.
We are using this manual to really extract the absolute science and psychology of what makes a truly competent professional driver with a capital C. This source kind of pulls back the curtain on how professionals manage the sheer chaos of the road.
Because passing this assessment is miles away from just, like, maneuvering a 2-ton metal box around some orange cones in a parking lot. TESDA bases professional competence on a highly rigid, uncompromising formula. The formula literally states that safety plus vehicle control plus traffic law compliance plus defensive driving equals competent.
That is a lot of variables.
It is. And if any single variable in that equation is missing or compromised, the entire formula just collapses. The assessor will simply determine that you are not competent to be on the road.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we can even attempt to manage the chaos of moving traffic, we have to master the static, stationary environment of the vehicle itself.
Oh, absolutely. The pre-operation phase.
Yeah, because a lot of people approach a car the way they approach a bicycle, right? You walk up to it, jump in, assume everything works, and just go.
Pretty much what we all do every morning.
Exactly. But reading through the initial pages of this manual, a professional driver is expected to treat a car much more like a pilot treats a commercial airliner.
That's a great analogy, actually.
Thanks. I mean, there is this incredibly strict pre-flight checklist.
Right, because you never just turn the ignition key and hope for the best. The fundamental rule of the professional is that you must independently verify the physical integrity of the machine before you put it into motion.
And in the Philippines, this verification process is famously summarized by one massive acronym. It's BLOWBAGETS. BLOWBAGETS.
It really covers everything.
It does. Battery, lights, oil, water, brakes, air, gas, engine, tires, and self.
The list is exhaustive.
Oh, yeah. Like, the manual requires drivers to check for corrosion on the battery terminals. You have to physically pull the dipstick to ensure the oil is between the minimum and maximum indicator lines.
And verify the tires, right?
Yes, verify that your tires have a minimum of 1.6 millimeters of tread depth, which is the literal threshold keeping you from hydroplaning on a wet road. But the letter that really jumped out to me is that final S self.
Ah, yes. Assessing the driver's own physiological and psychological baseline.
Right. The manual explicitly forbids getting behind the wheel if you have any fatigue, any illness, or have consumed any alcohol or impairing drugs.
Which makes sense.
It does. If you, the operator, are not at 100% mental and physical capacity, you fail the checklist before you even pull the door handle. But I've been wondering, how does an assessor actually test this in real life? I mean, a checklist is just a piece of paper.
Well, what's fascinating here is the psychological defense mechanism built directly into how this assessment is conducted.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Candidates actually fail the NC TUSIC exam during this pre-operation phase all the time.
Wait, really? just on the checklist.
Just on the checklist. And they fail not because they forgot the acronym, but because they stand in front of the assessor and simply recite BLOWBAGETS from memory.
Oh, they just rattle it off.
Exactly. But the assessor demands a physical and verbal ritual. The driver must physically place their hand on the components and speak their observations out loud.
So wait, they literally have to touch the battery casing and say out loud, like, the battery terminals are secure. I observe no acid leaks or corrosion.
They do. And that requirement defeats a phenomenon known as inattentional blindness.
Inattentional blindness.
Yeah, so when you just glance at a familiar object, like your car's engine bay, your brain often plays a trick on you. It autofills the visual information with what you expect to see rather than what is actually there.
Oh, wow. Because you see it every day.
Right. By forcing the driver to physically touch the bipstick, feel the tension of the belts, and speak the words into the air, you are forcing multiple areas of the brain to engage simultaneously: the tactile, the auditory, and the visual.
It is brilliant.
It really is. It prevents autopilot complacency and grounds the driver entirely in the physical reality of the machine.
That is such a brilliant way to force mindfulness into a purely mechanical routine. But, checking the battery doesn't prevent a crash.
Unfortunately not.
Right. The most perfectly maintained machine on Earth is still a 2-ton weapon if the human brain operating it is overwhelmed by high speeds. So how does this manual train the human brain to process that chaos?
It's all about reframing how you view driving.
Because I have a real issue with how most people define driving. We tend to think of driving as purely reacting. A car brakes in front of us, we hit our brakes. A pedestrian steps off the curb, we swerve.
Right, entirely reactive.
But the TESDA manual claims that true defensive driving isn't about reacting at all. It's about predicting the future.
Yes. The manual defines defensive driving explicitly as defending against bad drivers, poor road conditions, and severe weather by anticipating hazards.
Anticipation.
Exactly. Anticipation is the mechanism that keeps you alive. You are making safe, calculated decisions long before a sudden reaction is forced upon you.
And they actually quantify this with the 3-second rule for following distance.
Oh, the classic rule.
Yeah, and for you listening, this is how you measure it. You pick a fixed landmark on the side of the road, like, say, a light pole.
Or a road sign.
Right. Sign works, too.
Right.
When the rear bumper of the car ahead of you passes that pole, you start counting. 1001, 1002, 1003.
Bet if you pass it too soon.
If your front bumper passes that same light pole before you finish saying 3, you're following too closely. But that is only for dry, perfect asphalt. In wet weather, the manual demands you double that distance to 4 to 6 seconds.
Which is crucial because water fundamentally alters the coefficient of friction between your rubber tires and the asphalt.
Because of hydroplaning.
Exactly. Your tires need those extra seconds to basically channel water through their grooves to find grip. Furthermore, poor visibility delays the moment your optic nerve registers a hazard and sends that signal down to your foot to apply the brake.
That definitely explains the distance. But the manual also outlines this whole visual discipline philosophy called the Smith system.
The 5 keys, right?
Yeah, the 5 keys. And the very first key is aim high. The manual states you should be looking 15 to 20 seconds ahead of your vehicle, not staring at the bumper directly in front of you.
That's a huge shift for most drivers.
It is. It actually makes me think of walking through a pitch black room with a flashlight. If you point the flashlight directly at your own toes, you might avoid stepping on a stray shoe, but you are going to walk face first into a wall.
That's a really good way to put it.
You have to aim the beam at the far wall so your peripheral vision naturally handles the obstacles on the floor.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the Smith system is paired with a cognitive loop called SIPDE.
SIPDE. SIPD.
Yes. Scan, identify, predict, decide, execute.
Oh, okay.
These two systems work together to solve a severe human limitation cognitive overload.
Because things are just moving too fast.
Exactly. The human brain was not evolved to process massive amounts of high-speed data. When you force your eyes to aim 15 to 20 seconds down the road and you actively scan and predict hazards, you are buying yourself the single most valuable resource in traffic: time.
Buying time.
Yes. Seeing a hazard 20 seconds early means you don't have to slam on your brakes. You simply lift your foot off the accelerator. You transform what would have been a terrifying emergency into a completely smooth, almost invisible adjustment.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting, though. What happens when that perfect prediction fails?
Because it inevitably will at some point.
Right. We open this deep dive with the scenario of the front tire blowout at 90 kilometers per hour. The driver's anticipation couldn't predict a hidden nail on the expressway. Pure emergency takes over.
The worst case scenario.
We established that hitting the brake pedal is a guaranteed disaster, but why? What is the actual physics mechanism that makes braking so dangerous in that specific moment?
Think about running down a sidewalk at full sprint.
Okay.
If someone suddenly reaches out and grabs your right shoulder, you don't just stop in your tracks.
No, I'd probably spin around.
Exactly. Your forward momentum violently spins your entire body around that grabbed shoulder. That is exactly what happens to a car during a blowout.
Oh, I see.
A blown tire loses all its structural integrity and turns into a heavy, dragging anchor on that corner of the vehicle. If you hit the brakes, the weight of the car forcefully shifts to the front.
So the good tires brake, but the bad one drags.
Precisely. The 3 intact tires brake normally, but that blown tire catches and drags on the asphalt. It becomes a pivot point, and your momentum spins the vehicle around it.
Wow. So according to the manual, the professional protocol is to grip the steering wheel firmly, maintain your lane to fight the pulling sensation, and slowly ease your foot off the gas pedal.
Never sudden movements.
Right. You allow the natural mechanical drag of the vehicle to bleed off the speed. You only lightly touch the brakes when you have dropped below 30 kilometers per hour.
You are relying entirely on physics over instinct.
But I want to challenge another piece of emergency advice in this manual, though.
Okay, let's hear it.
It covers what to do if you experience total brake failure while driving down a steep hill.
Ah, another nightmare scenario.
Truly. The manual says you must rapidly pump the brake pedal and then systematically downshift your gears. From 4th gear to 3rd to 2nd to 1st.
Yes, engine braking.
But wait, if I am flying downhill in a massive vehicle and force the transmission into 1st gear, won't it completely destroy the gearbox?
Oh, it will absolutely subject the transmission to extreme, potentially catastrophic stress.
So why do it?
Because destroying a replaceable gearbox is the calculated sacrifice a professional makes to avoid launching a vehicle off a cliff.
Oh, well, that puts it into perspective.
Right. What you are doing is utilizing engine braking. When you downshift into a lower gear at a high speed, you force the engine's pistons to move incredibly fast without giving them any fuel.
Making them work against themselves.
Exactly. This creates a massive internal vacuum and intense mechanical friction. You are using the internal resistance of the engine block itself to absorb the vehicle's kinetic energy, slowing the car down without ever needing the brake pads.
That is wild. And what about the instruction to rapidly pump the brake pedal? Why pump it instead of just holding it down to the floor?
Well, brake systems operate on hydraulic fluid. If a line gets a small leak or air enters the system, holding the pedal down just pushes the remaining fluid out.
Like squeezing an empty tube of toothpaste.
Good comparison. By rapidly pumping the pedal, you might generate just enough residual hydraulic pressure to engage the brake calipers a tiny bit.
Every little bit helps.
Exactly. Also, the manual explicitly warns you to never turn the engine off in this scenario.
Really? Why not?
Because turning off the ignition kills your power steering pump and your brake booster. You would essentially turn the steering wheel to stone.
Oh, wow. So you'd lose whatever control you had left.
Exactly.
That exact same philosophy applies to skidding, too. If your vehicle hits a snug patch and the back end starts sliding to the left, instinct screams at you to hit the brakes and steer to the right, away from the danger.
Which is another instinct you have to suppress.
Right. The manual says absolutely do not brake if your car lacks an anti-lock braking system, or ABS. And for you listening, ABS is a computer that automatically pumps the brakes hundreds of times a second to prevent the wheels from locking up.
Most modern cars have it, but you need to know if yours doesn't.
Right. Because without ABS, slamming the brakes guarantees you slide uncontrollably. Instead, you ease off the gas and steer into the skid. You countersteer. If the rear slides left, you turn your steering wheel to the left.
It feels completely illogical to steer toward the direction you are sliding.
It really does.
But countersteering is the only mechanical way to realign the front tires with the actual direction the vehicle's mass is traveling. Once they align, the tires can grip the road again.
It's all just raw physics. And the manual even applies this rigid logic to vehicle fires.
Oh, the fire protocols are very strict.
Very. Like if you smell burning plastic and see smoke coming from the hood, you pull over and immediately turn off the engine. You do this because turning off the ignition stops the electronic fuel pump, preventing it from continuously feeding gasoline to the fire.
A very crucial step.
Yeah. Then you evacuate everyone exactly 30 meters away.
30 meters is quite a distance.
It is. And if it is safe to fight a small fire, they teach the PASS technique for the extinguisher, PASS. Pull the pin, aim at the base, squeeze the handle, and sweep side to side.
The standard protocol?
But why aim at the base? I mean, people naturally want to spray the massive flames because, that is the most terrifying part.
Sure, but the massive flames are just a visible symptom of a chemical reaction. They're basically just plasma.
So spraying them doesn't do anything.
Spraying the flames does nothing. You must aim the nozzle directly at the base because you need the chemical retardant to smother the actual fuel source and cut off its oxygen supply.
Makes total sense when you break it down like that. So what does this all mean? We have talked about surviving high-speed blowouts and smothering chemical fires, but surviving high-speed chaos means absolutely nothing if a driver fails at mundane low-speed precision.
Very true. The slow stuff matters just as much.
Let's talk about the exactness of space and the strictness of Philippine law. Think about the last time you parallel parked at the grocery store.
Probably bump the curb.
Oh, definitely. You bumped the curb with your tire, adjusted a little bit, and left the car sitting at a slight angle. It's fine for everyday life. But for a professional taking this NC through a second advancement, the maximum allowable distance from the curb is exactly 30 centimeters.
That is tight.
That is the length of a standard school ruler. You park 31 centimeters away, you fail the assessment. You are officially deemed a traffic obstruction.
And that precision extends to the methods of maneuvering as well.
Like what?
Well, when perpendicular parking like in a standard mall parking lot, a professional is required to reverse into the parking bay.
Really? Driving in forward isn't allowed.
Driving in forward is considered a novice move. When you reverse into a spot, you guarantee that when it is time to leave, you will be driving out forward. You have total panoramic visibility of the active traffic lane rather than backing out blindly and hoping passing cars stop for you.
That is so smart. Speaking of reversing, there is a critical fail-worthy error detailed in the manual regarding blind spots.
Oh yes, the mirror tract.
Yes. If a driver shifts into reverse and only looks at their side and rear view mirrors, they fail. You must physically turn your head to look out the rear and side windows.
Because mirrors have massive blind spots.
Massive. Particularly the thick rear pillars of modern cars. Bicycles, shopping carts, and small children easily vanish into those geometric blind spots. You cannot rely on a piece of glass, you actually have to turn your head.
It's mandatory.
And this intense attention to detail directly connects to how strict the Philippine LTO, or Land Transportation Office, regulates these licenses.
It really does. And this raises an important question about the legal philosophy of driving. Let's examine Republic Act 10930, the 10-Year License Validity Act.
Right.
When a driver renews their 5-year license, they are only granted the new 10-year validity if their record is completely spotless. 0 traffic violations.
0.
0. Not one illegal parking ticket, not one speeding violation. A single infraction means you only get a 5-year license.
That is strict. And the laws are even more brutal for professionals regarding alcohol. Under Republic Act 10586, the Anti-Drunk and Drug Driving Act, a regular private driver is legally allowed a blood alcohol concentration limit of up to 0.05%.
Right, the private limit.
But a professional driver holding an NC TANA certificate, their legal limit is 0.000%.
Completely zero tolerance.
Yeah. If they are pulled over and have even a fractional trace of alcohol in their system, they face immediate heavy fines, the revocation of their professional license, and potential imprisonment.
That zero tolerance policy, combined with the 30-centimeter parking rule and the zero violation requirement, it really underscores a fundamental societal truth.
What's that?
The LTO and TESDA do not view driving as a fundamental human right. It is a highly conditional, heavily scrutinized privilege.
A privilege, not a right.
Exactly. When you operate a vehicle, you are maneuvering a massive piece of heavy machinery through public spaces filled with unprotected pedestrians. Every single millimeter of space you occupy and every single entry on your legal record is heavily weighted. That privilege demands total, unyielding accountability.
It is a massive responsibility that most of us just take for granted. So, to recap our journey through this deep dive today, we started by treating the car like an aircraft. We explored the BLOWBAGETS pre-operation ritual, recognizing that physically touching the battery and speaking out loud is a psychological tool to defeat the complacency of our own brains.
The ritual of the machine.
Right. Then we moved the vehicle and tackled the myth of reaction. By using the Smith System's flashlight approach and the SIPDE cognitive loop, we learned that looking 20 seconds ahead buys us the time to predict chaos rather than react to it.
And we also explored those terrifying moments when anticipation fails, digging into the counterintuitive physics of crisis management.
Fighting our own DNA.
Yes, we learned why we must fight our instincts, keeping our foot off the brake during a blowout to prevent a pivot point, and willingly sacrificing a transmission to engine brake our way down a steep hill.
Finally, we brought it all back down to a crawl, highlighting that slotting a car exactly 30 centimeters from a curb and maintaining a 0.000% alcohol level is the ultimate proof of professional mastery.
It really ties it all together.
It does. And for you listening, applying even a fraction of this manual standards, whether it's counting out the 3-second rule on the highway or simply turning your head to check a blind spot before you reverse, makes the roads substantially safer for everyone around you.
Well said. I actually want to leave you with one final detail from the source material to ponder on your own.
Well, what's that?
In the section detailing the emergency protocols for vehicle fires, the manual issues a very explicit, bolded warning. It says, "Never return to a burning vehicle. Personal items are replaceable, your life is not."
That seems obvious, but people must do it if it's bolded.
They do. And think about the psychology of the modern driver for a moment. We treat our vehicles like heavily armored extensions of our living rooms.
We really do. Cup holders, stereos.
Exactly. We fill them with our most precious valuables, we seal out the noise of the outside world, and we develop this profound, false sense of invincibility behind the safety glass.
An illusion of safety.
Precisely. Yet in a split second, a simple fuel pump failure can turn that cozy living room into a toxic hazard that you must sprint 30 meters away from. So the next time you sit in the driver's seat and pull the door shut, ask yourself, do you truly respect the machine for the complex physics it represents? Or have you forgotten just how fragile the space between you and the road actually is?